AM 1280 News Talk KIT on a good-looking Thursday, July the 19th, 15 minutes after 7 o'clock. For you, you may just be getting up. But if you're on the political trail, you're up and at 'em early because there's work to be done. Richard Miller in for the vacationing Lance Tormey, and our candidate forums continue this morning, and we start off with the 14th Legislative District, position number 1. That is Norm Johnson's former seat. He is retiring after, over 30-plus years of public service, leaving an open seat, and one of the folks that would like to step in and provide another level of leadership for the Yakima region is Earl Lee. Earl, good morning. How are you?
Oh, real good.
Drag that microphone over there to you, sir, so we can...
All right.
Perfect. Well, what we kind of have a formula for these first rounds of conversations, and that's where we try to find out a little bit more about you and your interests and your take on the legislature and some of your issues. So let's just start with Early the guy. Tell us a little bit about your background, your family, what you do, that sort of stuff, if you would.
Okay, I always had a pretty good friend, that I used to work with. His name was Al Decio, and I had a lot of fun with him and his sons.
Yeah.
Played football, etc. And we all grew up, and we found a lot of things. And he always told me, he said, keep your facts with you and your mouth shut most of the time.
Well, that's pretty good advice for everybody, isn't it?
So that's what I did. I put facts together, and I'll just run down those facts so you can kind of know in order as
Sure.
what I did. Basically, starting out, I have a master's degree in special ed with also education and master teacher. I started out in Yakima as born and raised here, working and did a lot of the optional things that kids would do, like going football, etc., and wrestling, and then eventually we ended up on the only team in the history of Washington that ever went undefeated for Davis High School. So I learned a lot of good, work ethics with regard to that. I've also saved one of my good friends, Senator's daughter, and I actually started with that as an alternative school teacher for the Yakima School District when she was about ready to be shot, and I had an opportunity to go in and take the gun. And so one of the first school shootings, I stopped that, and that was Mr. Diesel's niece. Also did some things like that in developing programs for the Yakima School District, the first and the biggest alternative school programs, and one that I have to my credit is also Stanton, but there's been many more that I've done with regard to that. Written a book that's #1 and been #1 at that it's called Music Therapy Reconnection. If you Google it, you'll see it's #1 and been there. It sells for $2,000 to $3,000. Started out selling for that and it talks about techniques and things that are used through GRA, through the prison systems, etc., how to stop and to find out how to control deviant behavior. I ran some of the first equity programs while working with the state of Washington and Clarence Edwards for women rights and minority rights with regard to them being placed on jobs that originally they weren't being given the opportunity in the federal eye. I created work with my aunt to help create the Greenway that everybody runs out to that's excited about, Nadine Walker Lee, and also work with her on doing the Capitol restoration program and working in that. So I've always been in government with regard to that.
Had your hands in a lot of projects and a lot of things that reflect for a better community. So
yeah.
Plenty of history there. All right. Well, as you consider the legislature, what kind of grade do you give to the current crew over there and the issues that they've been working on and how they've been doing it?
Well, being a Washington State certified teacher for over 30 years and having worked and went to a lot of those sessions to view them firsthand and to understand what's actually going on. I like progress, but you got to have an opportunity. You have to have a floor, a starting place. And what I find over there, you have a lot of people that have a lot of beliefs, but they keep them to themselves if they don't go along with somebody else's belief. And that can't happen. You have to have open government. You just have to. I always would tell different individuals, I won't give their names because they're still there, that the important thing is not so much is what you believe, but if you can make people believe what you believe. I said, and that should be open. That shouldn't be something we try and hide. Because the fact is, if we do that, then there's a trust factor that comes into play. And
Sure.
people need to have the trust in their legislators. And regardless of what people say and what people do and what kind of whatever, information is out there, the fact is, I've always been taught to give people an opportunity. So the grade I would give people right now, probably about a C+.
Okay. Well, there has been some concern about transparency over there, and the trust issue, I think, has been stretched pretty good here this past session by wanting to keep what are open records for the rest of us, they would want to keep for themselves. So we'll have to see how that sort of issue and approach continues going forward. So C+ gets them passing, but it's not exactly exemplary. So maybe an educator is what it takes to get in there and show them the better way. What kind of things, Earl, would you like to work on if you get elected? What kind of things would you focus on?
First of all, we need job development. And one of the easiest ways in which we can promote that and start it is to start work on our infrastructure. If you drive around just Yakima, you'll see all the work and opportunity that's out there. If we would have contractors that would be training people, trainees, to do things, we could put a massive amount of people back to work doing the work for us at a lower rate and a lower discounted rate, because we would have people that weren't starting out at the high end of everything. We would have people that need work, people that are motivated, people that are in gangs, and et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of different types of people, that women, girls, homeless people, et cetera, that could be out there doing some work. And if we do that, we solve a whole lot of problems, because we get people working and giving them an opportunity to enjoy, a better life. And that's what a lot of these people want, and that's what they're not getting. And also another issue we have to deal with at some point in time is the issue of imprisonment. What happens when we imprison somebody? They come out of jail, they go back to jail. The recidivism rate is unreal, because they don't go to anything that they can do to make them money to live. So they get right back into the same old drag. And what happens is we take on more responsibility for them, because we put them back in jail. We don't rehabilitate anything. We don't even work on that. We just put them on the street and then put them back in jail.
I do want to ask you about McCleary at some point because of your background in education, but a question about the creating job opportunities for people. Now we have record low unemployment. We have record low unemployment in the country, in the state, and even in the Yakima Valley. So wouldn't you say we are doing that?
No, definitely not. What we're doing right now, we're placing a Band-Aid on the situation, and what we're doing is recreating the illusion that these jobs are being. But let me ask you a question. Who's getting those jobs? Where's the money coming from, and where is it going to from the people that are getting it? Certainly not being spent in this economy. I mean, it ends up in other places, and that's been a fact for since the beginning. If you look at job creation, I was a job developer also for OIC for years, and did that, and worked also in different positions there that would do that, even youth bill. And I found out that the kids we work with, we could teach them a skill, how to build a house, how to landscape, etc. But the problem was, if they had a record, they couldn't get a job. So that was just money that was just thrown out and wasted.
Well, now there's some federal adjustments, or I don't know if they're federal or state adjustments, but that not having to say that you have a record on job apps or is it apartment requests. I'll have to getting out ahead of my skis here, but the idea of not having to pay a current price for past behavior that you've already paid your dues to society. Richard, you know.
Well, the wheels are just turning because I'm an employer, and I think as an employer, you're already fairly hamstrung on what you can ask people when you're trying to hire the right person. So I think that there's some, some meeting of the minds that has to happen with that issue. But I'm not the one running, so we won't get into that subject too far as what I think. I want to know what Earl thinks. But with respect to McCleary, I'm sure you have an opinion about it as an educator. How do we afford McCleary, the ongoing cost of providing a basic education, paying teachers more, building more schools to keep the class size to something reasonable, which is a big issue? How do we do that and tackle issues like the money we need to spend on mental health, for instance? I mean, where's the money coming from?
Well, first of all, let me clarify one other point. I was a mental health counselor for 5 years for comprehensive mental health and ran, the group home over there, so I'm pretty well in depth with that. And I have a special education degree on my master's in special education, actually, endorsement. So I understand that concept, too, of the need and special needs. Let me answer that question. The answer to that question is first of all, we have to start out earlier, not later. The problem is right there. If we have to take program money and try and teach kids in the 10th and 11th grade how to do geometry, because with regard to special core and common core programs and what we're following, is that we have to make those adjustments there. If we made the adjustments in Head Start, where those kids would be able to understand the concepts and be able to get a start on how, what's the difference between a vertex and a vortex or whatever, But the reality is this: we don't start early enough. If we start early enough, we can train kids. If we have kids that are learning how to do math, English, social, et cetera, in Head Start, and if we did have that and continue that, the programs that are making the biggest successes are the programs that start kids earlier and get them to understand the concepts and the standards, and also the expectations of what the education system is. Then we can deal with the problem. We're not doing that. What we're doing is throwing kids in there and saying, learn how to color, learn how to paint this. I know, because I taught Head Start also, and I taught Head Start and helped start their program for the Yakima Nation. I know.
So we need to have more focused
3-minute stations,
real world sort of activities or normal educational system activities starting even earlier. Here's my point. It's called the Ban the Box, where you have to check the box if you've ever had a felony. Jay Inslee did sign the Ban the Box law, a Fair Chance Act, House Bill 1298, so that the state's public and private employers no longer ask if you've got felons. So at least some movement has been made in that regard.
Let me explain that, though, so you understand it a little bit clearer. The problem with that is they still ask. And the problem with that is that those individuals are not going to get hired from a group of people, whether you ask or not, that need a person that they can believe and trust and can help take their money to the bank. So that's all nice, and that's fine. But it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a cut that's been festering, and it's 10 feet wide.
Needs more than just that in order to really see it accomplished. All right, we're going to run out of time here in a little bit, so let's do what we ask everybody to do, Earl, and that's if you're walking door to door meeting people and they say, look, only got about a minute, tell me why I should vote for you this time around. What would you say? What's your pitch?
I would tell them that there isn't one or one candidate or all together that could match what I can do. There's not one. Education-wise, degree-wise, opportunity, knowledge-wise, with regard to work with the government, people that I know in the government, I know both sides. I can walk over there and talk to those guys. I can talk to Dan. I can talk to Curtis. I can talk to all of them, because I was there when they started out, and I was in there in a situation where I got to know them and know what they were all about. And I can talk to others because they'll see that, and it's a positive transfer. The reality is, you want to get a person that can take off running with this thing. And I have the facts, the books, and the knowledge, and written the facts and the books and knowledge that prove as being number one in the, you check the book out if you want. It's on Google. You can Google it. That I do know what I'm talking about, and I can put a program and work with anyone and work with programs to get things back on track. That's what Yakima hasn't really had, and you need to have that. And you need to have a person that can make the long trips down that 14th district track, and that do know that 14th district track pretty well too, and the people in those areas. So I think that there isn't anyone that has that knowledge. And then I have had the foundation. The foundation was built with me by the best we've ever had, from being campaign chairman for Henry Beauchamp that got Henry started on the city council.
Clearly an icon for Yakima. So a unique candidate for a unique circumstance and time. Earl Lee, running for the 14th District. Primary coming up here in a couple weeks. Best of good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time this morning. Fox News starts now.